Park Woo-jin looked out the window of his small office aboard Harmony's Edge space station. Stars moved slowly past the glass as the station rotated. He had been working as a diplomat for 8 years now, but he still loved watching space. It made him feel calm before difficult meetings. His communication device buzzed. Kim Da-hai's face appeared on the screen. She looked worried, which was unusual for the head of xenological affairs. Da-hai was always confident and in control. "Woo-jin, I need you in meeting room 7 right away," she said. "We have a situation with the Vellani Empire." Woo-jin grabbed his jacket and walked quickly through the station corridors. Other diplomats and aliens moved past him, all busy with their own problems. The Vellani situation had been in the news for weeks. Their king had died suddenly during peace talks, and now everyone was worried about war. When he entered the meeting room, Woo-jin saw Da-hee standing next to a tall, insect-like creature. This was Queen Nicera of the Vellani Empire. She was almost 7 feet tall with 4 arms and large, compound eyes that reflected light like jewels. Her exoskeleton was deep blue with silver patterns. "Your Majesty," Woo-jin bowed respectfully. He had studied Vellani customs and knew they valued formal greetings. The Queen's voice was musical but strange, like several people speaking at once. "You are the human diplomat who solved the mining dispute between the Gorvak and the Crystal. Singers?" "Yes, Your Majesty. Though it took many months of talks." "And you stopped the war between the Flame Dancers and the Ice Worlds?" Woo-jin nodded. "We found a solution that worked for both sides." Queen Nicera moved closer. Her large eyes studied his face carefully. "I have read about human problem-solving abilities. Your species finds answers that others cannot see." Da-hai stepped forward. "Woo-jin, the Queen has a very unusual request. Perhaps she should explain." The Queen's 4 hands moved as she spoke, a sign of stress in Vellani body language. "My husband, King Thekmar, died 3 weeks ago. Our laws say I must have a bonded partner to rule. Without a partner, the military commanders will fight for power. Millions will die in civil war." "I understand the situation is difficult," Woo-jin said carefully. "But how can we help?" "I need a temporary partner, just for 6 months until the succession period ends. Then I can rule alone." The Queen paused. "But no Vellani male will accept this arrangement. They all want permanent power." Woo-jin felt confused. "Your Majesty, I still don't understand how humans can help." Da-hai looked at him seriously. "She's asking you to be her temporary partner, Woo-jin. A political marriage to satisfy their laws." The words hit him like a shock. "Me? But I'm human. Surely there are rules about—" "Our laws say nothing about species," Queen Nicera interrupted. "Only that the ruler must be bonded. In our history, this has always meant Vellani with Vellani. But the law does not require it." Woo-jin sat down, heavily. This was far beyond anything he had expected. "What would this involve exactly?" "A bonding ceremony. You would share some of my royal duties, make public appearances, help with important decisions. After 6 months, the bond can be broken, and you return to your normal life. And this would prevent civil war?" "Yes. The military cannot challenge a properly bonded ruler. Even Admiral Kexthor, who wants my throne, must accept the law." Da-hai moved to stand beside Woo-jin. "The Galactic Council supports this plan. It could save millions of lives and prevent a war that might spread to other systems." Woo-jin thought about his current assignment. He was supposed to mediate a trade dispute between 2 minor planets. Important work, but nothing like this. "What does the bonding ceremony involve?" "Neural linking," the Queen explained. "We would share some thoughts and feelings. It helps bonded partners understand each other and work together. For most species, it is a light connection, nothing permanent." "Most species?" Queen Nicera's compound eyes seemed to shimmer. "We have never bonded with a human before. Your brain patterns are interesting. Our scientists believe the connection will be stronger than usual, but still temporary." Woo-jin looked at Da-hai. "What does Earth Command think about this?" "They approve. It's an honor for humanity to help solve such an important crisis. Plus, you'll learn things about Vellani culture that could help future relations." The queen moved closer again. I know this is much to ask. You would be leaving your normal life for 6 months, living in the royal palace, following Vallani customs, but you would be saving lives and making history. Wu Jin stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see a Vallani warship docked at the station. Its weapons were massive. If the Vallani Empire fell into civil war, the fighting would be terrible. He thought about his training as a diplomat. His job was to prevent conflicts and help different species understand each other. This was exactly what he had dedicated his life to doing. Would I have advisors? People to help me understand what I'm supposed to do? Of course, the queen said quickly. Chancellor Vextara will teach you our customs. You will have human assistants, too. And I will help you understand everything. What about after the 6 months? Will there be any lasting effects? The queen hesitated for just a moment. Our scientists believe the neural changes will fade over time. You should return to normal within a few weeks of separation. Dahai placed a hand on his shoulder. Wu Jin, I wouldn't ask this if I didn't believe you could handle it. You're the best diplomatic problem solver we have, and this could prevent a war that might last decades. Wu Jin turned back to face the queen. Her alien features made it hard to read her emotions, but he sensed desperation beneath her royal dignity. She was trying to save her people, just as he tried to solve problems for others. If I agree, when would this happen? The ceremony must take place within 5 days. Vallani law requires it. 5 days to change his entire life. 5 days to prepare for something no human had ever done before. Wu Jin thought about all the training simulations he had run, all the difficult negotiations he had handled. None of them had prepared him for this. But looking at Queen Nisera, he saw something he recognized. She was a leader trying to protect her people, willing to make personal sacrifices for the greater good. It was something he understood and respected. I'll do it, he said simply. The queen's eyes brightened. You accept the bonding? I accept. For 6 months, I'll be your partner and help prevent this war. Queen Nisera moved forward and touched his hand with one of her 4 hands. Her exoskeleton was warm and smooth. Thank you, Park Wu Jin. You may have just saved the Vallani Empire. 3 days later, Wu Jin stood in the great hall of the Vallani Royal Palace. The ceiling stretched high above him, covered in glowing crystals that cast rainbow light across the walls. Hundreds of Vallani nobles watched from curved balconies, their compound eyes reflecting the colored lights. Li Teho checked the scanning device in his hands one more time. As a xenobiologist, he had insisted on monitoring Wu Jin's vital signs during the ceremony. Your heart rate is elevated, but that's normal, he whispered. Just remember what we practiced. Choi So-young stood nearby with her tablet, ready to record everything for the official report. As his diplomatic aide, she had helped him prepare for the past 3 days. The translation software is working perfectly, she said quietly. You'll understand everything they say. Wu Jin wore ceremonial Vallani robes that felt strange on his human body. The fabric was light but warm, designed for the insect-like Vallani physiology. Chancellor Vextara had spent hours teaching him the proper movements and responses for the bonding ritual. Remember, Vextara had told him, the neural link will feel unusual at first, like hearing voices in your head. Don't fight it. Let the connection form naturally. Queen Nisera entered the hall from the opposite side. She wore robes of deep purple and gold that made her blue exoskeleton shine. A crown of living metal sat on her head, pulsing with soft light. She looked every inch a royal ruler, but Wu Jin could see tension in the way she held her 4 arms. The ceremony began with ancient Vallani chants. The sounds were beautiful but alien, rising and falling in patterns that seemed to make the air itself vibrate. Wu Jin felt the music in his bones, deeper than any human song he had ever heard. Elder Texamura, the eldest member of the Vallani Council, approached the altar in the center of the hall. His exoskeleton was darker than the others, marked with scars from many battles. He carried a device that looked like a combination of crystal and living tissue. Today we witness something new, Elder Texamura announced in his deep voice. For the first time in our history, our queen will bond with a being from another world. Let all witness that this union follows our ancient laws. Some of the nobles shifted uncomfortably. Wu Jin could hear whispers in the Vallani language. Not everyone was happy about this arrangement, but they would follow the law. Queen Nisera walked to the altar first. She placed her 4 hands on the neural linking device and looked directly at Wu Jin. "Are you ready?" she asked. Wu Jin took a deep breath. "I'm ready." He walked forward and placed his 2 hands on the device next to hers. The crystal felt warm and seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. Nothing happened for a moment, and Wu Jin wondered if human biology was too different for the device to work. Then the world exploded. Images and sensations flooded his mind. He saw through compound, eyes that broke vision into thousands of pieces. He felt the weight of 4 arms and the hardness of an exoskeleton. Memories that weren't his own raced through his thoughts. Flying through the hive cities of the Vallani homeworld, feeling the presence of millions of other minds connected in the great network. But something was different from what the Queen had expected. Instead of the light connection she was used to, Wu Jin's human brain seemed to grab onto the neural link and strengthen it. The connection deepened and spread, creating pathways that shouldn't exist. Through the link, he felt Queen Nisera's surprise and wonder. She was experiencing human emotions for the first time, the sharp clarity of individual thought, the strange loneliness of a mind that stood apart from others, and something else. Hope. Human hope was different from Vallani hope. It was stubborn and refused to accept defeat. Fascinating. He heard her voice in his mind. "Your thoughts are so separate, so individual, but also so strong. And yours are connected to everything," he replied without speaking aloud. "I can feel your people, even from here." The linking device pulsed brighter. Elder Texamura watched with growing concern. "The connection is stronger than normal," he announced to the watching nobles. "But it follows the ancient patterns. The bonding is valid." Admiral Kexthor stepped forward from his place among the nobles. He was larger than most Vallani, with battle scars across his exoskeleton and weapons hanging from his belt. "Elder, this is not natural. Humans are aliens. This bonding corrupts our Queen's pure Vallani mind." "The law makes no mention of species," Elder Texamura replied firmly. "The bonding is complete and proper." But Wu Jin could feel the Admiral's anger through his new connection with Queen Nisera. Kexthor had wanted the Queen to fail, to be unable to find a proper bonding partner. That would have given him the excuse he needed to challenge her rule. "The ceremony is finished," Queen Nisera announced to the hall. "I present my bonded partner, Park Wu Jin of Earth. He shares my authority and my responsibility to protect the Vallani people." The nobles began the traditional chant of acceptance, though some voices were quieter than others. Wu Jin felt overwhelmed by the continuing flow of sensations and thoughts that weren't his own. Through the Queen's connection to her people, he could sense the emotions of thousands of Vallani across their empire. Li Tae-ho hurried forward with his scanner. "Wu Jin, your brain activity is off the charts. Are you all right?" "I'm different," Wu Jin said slowly. "I can feel things I never felt before, see things differently." Chancellor Vextara approached them. "Your Majesty, the human's neural patterns are creating new pathways in the bonding network. This has never happened before." Queen Nisera nodded. Through their link, Wu Jin felt her curiosity and growing excitement. Human minds process our connection differently. Instead of just touching the surface, they dive deep and change everything they touch. Over the following days, Wu Jin learned to live with his new awareness. He could sense the Queen's presence constantly, like a warm light in the back of his mind. Through her, he felt the vast network of Vallani consciousness that connected their entire species. But the Queen was changing too. Through Wu Jin's human thoughts, she experienced individual choice and personal freedom for the first time. She began to understand concepts that were completely alien to the Vallani collective mind. "You think of yourself as separate from others," she said to him during a private conversation in the palace gardens. "This is strange, but also powerful. You can make decisions that benefit the group while still being yourself. And you're connected." "To everyone," Wu Jin replied. You feel what your people feel. You know what they need without having to ask. Choi So-young watched these changes with growing concern. You're becoming something new, she told him. Not human and not Vellani, but something else. Is that bad? Wu Jin asked. I don't know, she admitted. But it's permanent. Dr. Yoon Hai-wan ran tests on your brain patterns. The changes aren't going away. That night, as Wu Jin lay in his new quarters in the royal palace, he felt the truth of her words. The neural pathways created by the bonding were growing stronger, not weaker. He was becoming something new, and so was Queen Nisera. Through their connection, he sensed her thoughts about the same realization. Neither of them was the same person who had entered the bonding ceremony. The question was, what would they become? Outside, his window, the lights of the Vellani capital city stretched to the horizon. Millions of beings living and working together in harmony that humans could barely imagine. But now, through his bond with their queen, Wu Jin was starting to understand how it all worked. And Queen Nisera, through her bond with him, was beginning to understand what it meant to be truly individual while still caring about others. Fee, 6-month arrangement was supposed to be simple, but nothing about their situation was simple anymore. 2 months into the bonding, alarms woke Wu Jin from deep sleep. Red lights flashed throughout the royal palace, and he could hear the heavy footsteps of Vellani guards running through the corridors. Through his neural link with Queen Nisera, he felt her sudden surge of fear and anger. The Gorvak Confederacy has attacked 3 of our border worlds, she told him as he rushed to the war room. They think we're weak during the succession period. Wu Jin found the Queen standing before a massive holographic display showing their star system. Red markers indicated enemy ships, while blue markers showed Vellani defensive fleets. The red markers outnumbered the blue ones by 3-1. Admiral Kexthor stood at the tactical display, his 4 arms moving quickly over the controls. Your Majesty, we should recall all fleets to defend the core worlds. The border systems are lost. No, Queen Nisera said firmly. Those worlds have millions of our people. We don't abandon them. Then we risk losing everything, Admiral Kexthor replied. The Gorvak have new adaptive technology. Our traditional swarm tactics aren't working against them. Through the neural link, Wu Jin felt the Queen's frustration. The Vellani had always won battles through coordination and overwhelming numbers. Their fleets moved together like schools of fish, attacking in perfect harmony. But the Gorvak had found a way to predict and counter these patterns. What exactly? Is this adaptive technology? Wu Jin asked. General Vex Marn, the Queen's chief military advisor, turned to look at him. Their ships learn from our attack patterns and adjust their defenses in real time. The more we use traditional tactics, the stronger their counters become. Wu Jin studied the tactical display. Through his bond with the Queen, he could feel the collective thinking of the entire Vellani military command. They were all trying to find variations of the same basic strategy, coordinated mass attacks. But that was exactly what the enemy expected. What if we stopped being predictable? He suggested. Admiral Kexthor's compound eyes fixed on him with obvious disdain. You know nothing of warfare, human. Vellani military doctrine has been perfected over thousands of years. And that's the problem, Wu Jin replied calmly. The Gorvak know your doctrine too. They've studied it and built technology to counter it. Queen Nisera felt his thoughts through their link and began to understand his direction. What are you suggesting? Chaos, Wu Jin said simply. Random attacks that don't follow any pattern. Small groups acting independently instead of large. Coordinated fleets? That's madness, General Vex Marn protested. We would lose all advantages of coordination, but we'd gain the advantage of unpredictability, Wu Jin countered. The adaptive technology can't learn from tactics that have no pattern to learn. Park Min-seo entered the war room at that moment. As Wu Jin's military strategic advisor, she had been studying Gorvak tactics since the attacks began. The human approach has merit, she said, looking at the display. Earth military history is full of examples where irregular tactics defeated superior coordinated forces. Admiral Kexthor made a sound of disgust. We should trust our empire to human war games? Queen Nisera raised one of her hands for silence. Through their neural bond, she and Wu Jin were sharing thoughts faster than speech. She could see his memories of human military history, Guerrilla wars, surprise attacks, psychological operations, things the collective Volani mind had never considered. "We will try this approach," the Queen announced. "Admiral Kexthor, select small groups of your best pilots. They will operate independently, following no set patterns." "Your Majesty, I cannot—" "You can, and you will," she said with royal authority. "Or I will find an admiral who can." The first test came 12 hours later. Instead of sending a massive coordinated fleet to retake the mining world of Kextara, the Volani sent 17 small groups attacking from different directions at different times. Some groups hit the main Gorvak fleet. Others attacked supply lines. A few groups did nothing but send false signals to confuse enemy sensors. The results were shocking. The Gorvak adaptive technology designed to counter large coordinated attacks couldn't adjust to the chaos. Their ships were optimized to fight massive battles, not to deal with dozens of small, unpredictable strikes. "Impossible," Admiral Kexthor muttered as reports came in. "We're actually winning." But Wu Jin could feel something else through his bond with Queen Nisera. The individual Volani pilots were struggling with the new tactics. Their natural instinct was to coordinate and work together. Fighting alone felt wrong to them at a fundamental level. "We need to adapt the strategy," he suggested. "Use small, coordinated groups instead of individuals. Give them enough teamwork to feel comfortable, but keep the groups independent from each other." Park Min-seo nodded approvingly. Distributed coordination, multiple hive minds instead of one large one. Over the following days, they refined the approach. Small fleets of 10 to 15 ships would work together perfectly, but each fleet operated independently from the others. The Volani pilots felt comfortable within their small groups while still creating the unpredictable patterns that confused the Gorvak technology. The breakthrough came during the battle for Niketh Prime, the most important border world. The Gorvak had committed their entire reserve fleet to hold it, confident that their adaptive technology would counter any Volani attack. Instead of the expected massive assault, 43 independent Volani groups hit them from every possible angle. Some attacked directly, others targeted support ships. Several groups pretended to retreat and then struck from behind. A few groups did nothing but jam communications. The Gorvak fleet, designed to adapt to predictable patterns, couldn't cope. With pure chaos guided by intelligence, within 6 hours they were retreating in disorder. "How did you know this would work?" General Vex Marn asked Wu Jin after the victory. "Human history," Wu Jin explained. "My species has spent thousands of years fighting each other. We learned early that the best way to defeat a stronger enemy is to avoid fighting the way they expect you to fight." Through the neural link, Queen Nisera felt his memories of ancient Earth battles, where small forces had defeated larger armies through superior tactics and unpredictability. She began to understand that chaos could be a weapon when properly controlled. But the changes went deeper than military tactics. The individual Volani pilots who had learned to operate in small independent groups were changing. They were developing stronger individual identities while still maintaining their connection to the collective. "This is unprecedented," Chancellor Vextara reported to the Queen. "Our pilots are becoming more like humans, individual thinkers who can still work together." "And I'm becoming more like them," Wu Jin admitted. "I can feel the collective consciousness now. It's beautiful in a way humans never experience." Dr. Yoon Hai-won, who had arrived from Earth to study the bonding process, was fascinated by the changes she observed. "You're both evolving into something new, a hybrid consciousness that combines individual creativity with collective wisdom." The war turned decisively in the Volani favor. The Gorvak Confederacy, faced with tactics they couldn't predict or counter, began seeking peace negotiations. Their adaptive technology was useless against enemies who deliberately avoided having patterns to adapt to. But Admiral Kexthor wasn't pleased with the victory. "These new tactics are corrupting our people," he complained to anyone who would listen. "We're losing our Volani nature." "We're gaining something new," Queen Nisera replied when he brought his concerns to her directly. "Our people are stronger now, not weaker." Through the neural bond, Wu Jin felt her growing confidence and excitement. She was discovering that change didn't have to mean loss. It could mean growth and new possibilities. As reports of victory came in from across the border worlds, Wu Jin realized that their 6-month arrangement had already accomplished more than anyone had expected. They hadn't just prevented civil war. They had shown that two very different species could combine their strengths to create something entirely new. The question now was, what would happen when the 6 months ended? As the 6-month mark approached, Wu Jin noticed that Queen Nisera was finding more and more reasons for him to stay involved in royal duties. Council meetings that should have been routine required his input. Military decisions suddenly needed human perspective. Trade negotiations with other species demanded his presence. The Crystalline Empire specifically requested you be part of the talks, she told him one morning as they prepared for another diplomatic session. They say human negotiation methods are fascinating. Through their neural bond, Wu Jin felt something she wasn't saying out loud. The Queen didn't want him to leave. The thought of breaking their connection filled her with a kind of panic he had never felt from her before. But he was also feeling pressure from his own people. Ambassador Han Gitak had been sending increasingly urgent messages from the Galactic Council Station. Wu Jin, you need to return, Ambassador Han told him during their latest video call. The bonding was supposed to be temporary. Earth Command is getting concerned about the psychological effects of prolonged alien neural linking. I feel fine, Wu Jin replied, though he knew that wasn't entirely true. He barely felt human anymore. His thoughts were filled with Villani, sensations and memories. Sometimes he forgot which experiences were his own and which came through the bond. That's exactly the problem, Ambassador Han said firmly. You think you feel fine, but our medical reports show significant changes in your brain structure. Dr. Park says if you don't separate soon, the changes might become permanent. Lim Yu-jin, his colleague and friend, had visited the palace the Yuzi-Aichi week before with similar warnings. You're becoming something else, Wu Jin. I can see it in the way you move, the way you talk. You're thinking like them more than like us. But when Wu Jin looked at himself honestly, he realized he didn't want to go back to being just human. The collective awareness, the sense of connection to something larger than himself, the ability to truly understand another species. These were gifts he wasn't ready to give up. The Villani Council was having similar concerns about their queen. Elder Tex Mura called for a formal session to discuss the corruption of royal consciousness by alien influence. Your Majesty has changed, he told the assembled nobles. You make decisions like a human now, thinking only of individual benefit instead of collective good. I make better decisions, Queen Nisera replied calmly. The war with the Gorvak proved that combining human creativity with Villani coordination creates superior strategies. But at what cost? Demanded Lord Vectos, one of her traditional suitors. You barely seem Villani anymore. You think of yourself as separate from your people. Prince Nalkir, another suitor, stood to speak. The temporary bonding period ends in 12 days. It is time to choose a proper Villani mate and return to our natural ways. Through their neural link, Wu Jin felt the Queen's anger at being pressured to abandon what they had built together. But he also sensed something deeper, fear that maybe the others were right. Maybe they had both changed too much. The crisis came when Admiral Kexthor finally made his move. He had been watching and waiting, gathering support from nobles who feared the changes in their queen. On the night before the official end of the bonding period, he struck. Alarms woke Wu Jin from sleep, but these were different from the wartime alerts. These were internal security warnings. Through the neural bond, he felt Queen Nisera's shock and betrayal. Kexthor has declared me unfit to rule, she told him as they met in the palace's secure bunker. He says the human bonding has corrupted my mind beyond repair. Do the nobles support him? Wu Jin asked. Some do. Others are uncertain. He surrounded the palace with loyal troops and cut off our communications. Chancellor Vexitara rushed into the bunker with grim news. Your Majesty, Admiral Kexthor has broadcast a message across the Empire. He claims you are no longer truly Villani and that he must save our people from human contamination. But Admiral Kexthor had made a crucial mistake. The same Villani pilots who had learned to think independently during the war were now throughout the Empire. They had experienced the benefits of combining individual creativity with collective wisdom. Many of them didn't want to return to the old ways. "The Third Fleet refuses to support the coup," reported General Vexmarn, who had remained loyal to the Queen. "So does the Seventh and Ninth Fleets. The pilots say they prefer the new tactics and don't want to go back to predictable coordination." Through the palace's hidden passages, loyal guards helped Wu Jin and the Queen reach a small ship in the private hangar. As they escaped, Wu Jin realized that Admiral Kexthor's rebellion was already failing. The coup collapsed within 3 days. Too many Villani had experienced the advantages of the new hybrid approach to military and social organization. They didn't see the changes as corruption. They saw them as evolution. But the crisis had forced both Wu Jin and Queen Nisera to confront the truth about their situation. They didn't want to separate. The 6-month arrangement had become something neither of them was willing to give up. "I could officially extend the bonding period," the Queen suggested as they returned to the palace after Kexthor's surrender. "Claim that continued military threats require maintaining our current arrangement." "My people won't accept that," Wu Jin replied. "Ambassador Han is already threatening to recall me by force if necessary." Oh Sung Min arrived from Earth the next day. Wu Jin's childhood friend had volunteered to come and personally evaluate his mental condition. They met in the palace gardens, away from the constant presence of Villani courtiers. "You look different," Sung Min said bluntly. "Move different. Even the way you breathe has changed." Wu Jin knew it was true. His human reflexes had been modified by constant exposure to Villani sensory input. He processed information differently, made decisions using both individual logic and collective wisdom. "Are you still human?" Sung Min asked quietly. "I don't know," Wu Jin admitted. "But I'm not sure it matters anymore. I'm something new, and so is she. We work well together. But can you work apart? If you had to choose between your human identity and this alien bonding, what would you choose?" It was a question Wu Jin couldn't answer. Through the neural link, he felt Queen Nisera struggling with the same dilemma. If forced to choose between her Villani nature and their partnership, what would she decide? The answer came that evening when both their governments delivered ultimatums. Earth Command ordered Wu Jin to return immediately for psychological evaluation and neural reconditioning. The Villani Council demanded that Queen Nisera choose a traditional Villani mate within 5 days or face challenges to her rule. "They want us to go back to being what we were before," the Queen said as they stood together on the palace balcony, looking out at the city lights. "But we can't. We're not those people anymore." "So what do we do?" Wu Jin asked, through their bond. He felt her determination growing. Queen Nisera had made her choice, and it surprised him with its boldness. "We find a third option," she said. "Something neither of our governments expects." "What kind of third option?" The Queen turned to face him, her compound eyes reflecting the starlight. "We stop trying to fit into their categories and create our own." That night, as they planned their response to both governments, Wu Jin realized that their 6-month arrangement was about to become something completely different. They weren't going to separate, and they weren't going to continue hiding behind temporary political convenience. They were going to do something that would change both their species forever. The joint session of the Galactic Council had never seen anything like it. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the Great Assembly Hall, all waiting to hear what Queen Nisera and Wu Jin would propose. The media called it the most important diplomatic moment in galactic history. Director Shin Ye-jin led the Earth delegation, her face stern with disapproval. "The human government demands the immediate return of Park Wu Jin for medical evaluation," she announced to the assembly. "Prolonged alien neural bonding poses unacceptable risks to human psychology." Elder Texamura spoke for the Villani Council. "The Queen must choose a proper Villani mate to ensure the genetic purity and cultural integrity of our people. This alien experiment has gone too far." Ambassador Han Gitak leaned forward in his seat. "The temporary arrangement has served its purpose. The succession crisis is over. The military coup has failed. It's time for both parties to return to their normal lives." But Queen Nisera and Wu Jin had prepared for this moment. They stood together at the center of the assembly, their neural bond allowing them to speak with perfect coordination. "Honored representatives," Queen Nisera began, "we come before you not to defend a temporary arrangement, but to propose something permanent and revolutionary. We have discovered something that neither of our species expected," Wu Jin continued seamlessly. The combination of human individual creativity and Vellani collective wisdom creates capabilities that surpass what either species can achieve alone. Professor Kim Jae-sung, Wu Jin's former mentor who had arrived from Earth, stood to present their scientific evidence. Dr. Yoon Hae-won's research shows that the human-Vellani neural bonding creates a new form of consciousness, one that maintains individual identity while enabling species-level cooperation. Dr. Yoon Hae-won activated a holographic display showing brain scans and neural pathway maps. The bonded pair demonstrates enhanced problem-solving abilities, improved strategic thinking, and unprecedented cross-species communication. These changes are not degradation. They are evolution. Evolution away from human nature, director Shin Ye-jin protested. Park Woo-jin is no longer psychologically human. He thinks like an alien. And our queen no longer thinks like a proper Vellani, Elder Tex Mora added. She has become contaminated with alien individualism. Queen Nisera's compound eyes seemed to shine with inner light. You speak of contamination, but look at the results. Our victory over the Gorvak Confederacy, the prevention of civil war, the development of new tactical and diplomatic approaches that benefit both our peoples. Wu Jin gestured to the assembled representatives. How many conflicts in this assembly could be solved if species could truly understand each other the way we do? How many wars could be prevented if diplomats could share consciousness across species barriers? The Crystalline Empire's representative, a being of living mineral that communicated through light patterns, flickered in what their translators interpreted as excitement. The crystal minds have observed the bonded pair's negotiations. Their success rate exceeds normal diplomatic parameters by considerable margins. The Flame Dancers agree, announced their representative, a creature of controlled plasma. Their methods resolved our ancient dispute with the ice worlds in ways neither side had imagined possible. But not everyone was convinced. The Gorvak, Confederacy's ambassador, stood with obvious anger. This human-Vellani alliance defeated our fleets through unnatural tactics. They fight without honor, without predictable patterns. Exactly, Wu Jin replied. We fight to win and protect lives, not to maintain traditions that get people killed. The debate continued for hours. But Wu Jin and Queen Nisera had saved their strongest argument for last. Through their neural link, they had prepared a demonstration that would prove their point better than any words. 3 days ago, Queen Nisera announced, we received a distress call from the neutral zone. The Zephyrian Republic and the Hive Mind Consortium are on the verge of war over mining rights in the Kepler Nebula. Traditional diplomacy has failed, Wu Jin continued. Both species are too different to understand each other's needs. The Zephyrians value individual achievement and personal freedom. The consortium thinks only of collective efficiency and shared resources. We propose to mediate this conflict, the Queen said. If we succeed, it will prove that human-Vellani bonded pairs can solve problems that normal diplomacy cannot handle. Director Shin Ye-jin shook her head. This is not what we agreed to. The human was supposed to return to Earth. And if we fail? Elder Tex Mora demanded. Wu Jin and Queen Nisera looked at each other, their mental connection allowing them to communicate faster than speech. If we fail, we will accept separation and return to our original species, they said in unison. The assembly voted to allow the trial mediation. Within hours, Wu Jin and Queen Nisera were aboard a diplomatic ship heading for the neutral zone, accompanied by Bei Sun Wu, a young human diplomat eager to learn their methods. The Kepler Nebula. Crisis seemed impossible to solve. The Zephyrians wanted individual mining claims that would allow their people to compete for the best resources. The consortium wanted collective harvesting that would maximize efficiency for everyone. Neither side could understand why the other's approach had any value. But Wu Jin and Queen Nisera brought something new to the negotiations. Through their bond, Wu Jin could experience the consortium's collective thinking, while Queen Nisera learned to understand Zephyrian individualism. You see competition as wasteful, Wu Jin told the consortium representatives. But competition drives innovation. Individual Zephyrians working to outdo each other will develop better mining techniques that benefit everyone. And you see collective efficiency as limiting, Queen Nisera told the Zephyrians. But shared resources and coordinated effort prevent the waste and conflicts that come from uncontrolled competition. The solution they proposed was revolutionary. Individual Zephyrian miners would compete to develop the best techniques, but they would share their innovations with the collective mining operations. The consortium would provide the infrastructure and coordination, while the Zephyrians would provide the drive for improvement. Both sides would get what they needed. The Zephyrians would have their individual achievement and competition. The consortium would have their efficiency and shared benefit. And the combined approach would produce better results than either species could achieve alone. Impossible, the Zephyrian negotiator protested. Our peoples are too different. That's exactly why it will work, Wu Jin replied. Your differences are strengths when properly combined. The agreement was signed 3 days later. News of the HFY successful mediation spread across the galaxy faster than their ship could return to the Galactic Council. 14 different species have requested similar mediation services, Bei Sunwu reported as they traveled back. The Thermal Empire wants help negotiating with the Quantum Collective. The Metal Shapers need assistance with the Energy Dancers. Everyone wants human Villani diplomatic teams. When they returned to the Council Assembly, the mood had completely changed. Instead of demands for separation, there were requests for expansion. The Council formally recognizes the effectiveness of human Villani-bonded diplomatic pairs, announced. The Council President, an ancient being whose species had mediated galactic conflicts for millennia. We propose the creation of a new diplomatic corps based on this model. Director Shin Ye-jin looked stunned. You want more humans to undergo alien neural bonding? We want volunteers, Queen Nisera clarified. Humans and Villani who choose to bond for the purpose of serving as galactic mediators. The Treaty of New Harmony establishes the first formal human-Villani partnership, Elder Tex Mura announced, his earlier opposition forgotten in the face of obvious success. Our species will work together to train and support bonded diplomatic pairs. Professor Kim Jae-sung smiled with pride as he watched his former student make history. This is just the beginning. If humans can bond successfully with Villani, what other species combinations might be possible? Dr. Yoon Hae-won was already planning research projects. We need to study the neural compatibility between different species. Some combinations might work even better than human-Villani bonds. As the ceremony ended and the Treaty of New Harmony was officially signed, Wu Jin and Queen Nisera found themselves in a position they had never imagined. They were no longer a temporary arrangement or an unusual diplomatic partnership. They were the first of a new kind of being, bonded pairs who could bridge the gaps between different forms of consciousness. What do we do now? Wu Jin asked, as they prepared for their first official assignment as symbiotic ambassadors. We change the galaxy, Queen Nisera replied simply. One impossible negotiation at a time. Their temporary arrangement had become something permanent and transformative. They had proven that different species could not only work together, but could become something greater than the sum of their parts. 6 months later, there were 12 human-Villani-bonded pairs working as diplomats across the galaxy. The Crystalline Empire had begun experimenting with bonding between crystal mines and organic species. The Quantum Collective was researching consciousness, sharing with energy beings. Wu Jin and Queen Nisera stood on the observation deck of their new,